The importance of being generous to others was something I really didn't understand till I got older. To me, it wasn't a word that carried a lot of moral weight. It simply was the way that people existed around me, a kind of background noise that never really made sense. And it was only later that I realized how those small gestures, the ones I barely noticed at the time, were shaping me into the person I was to become. I've learned that generosity isn't just about giving. It's about how we choose to show up for one another, even when we're carrying our own quiet burdens. As I grew older, I began to understand how being generous may not always be as easy as it seems, and at times can be quite complicated. It's easy to give when your pockets feel full and your heart feels light. But generosity asks for more from us when we're tired, grieving, and stretched thin. I reflect to a period in my life when things felt really heavy. Friends drifting away, plans falling apart, and that feeling of being overwhelmed by everything all at once. And during that time, a friend invited me over for dinner, and she didn't really ask for explanations or try to cheer me up. She simply sat beside me in silence. And it was the kindest act anyone could have offered me then. Space to be myself, unfiltered and unpolished. But the most difficult lesson I've learned about generosity is that receiving it can be harder than giving it. There's a vulnerability in admitting that you need help, that you can't carry everything alone. And I found that accepting generosity was not a sign of weakness, but a subtle sign of strength. And I can recall back to a particular day when everything seemed to unravel all at once. It was one of those days when you're reminded that being human also means being fragile. A day when life showed me very clearly that I couldn't do it all by myself. But someone was there to pick me up, to listen, and to stay with me until I felt steadier. Now, my first instinct was to say no. I told myself I didn't want to burden anyone. But looking back, I see how fear disguised itself as independence. And when I finally accepted the offer, something shifted. Letting someone be generous with me without guilt, without apology, showed me that relationships can only deepen when we allow both sides of generosity to exist. We can't always be the one offering the hand. Sometimes we need to be the one taking it. And this realization changed the way I understood this connection. Generosity is not a performance of strength. It's a recognition of shared humanity. And what stayed with me most over the years are the small acts, the ones easy to overlook. A stranger holding the door when my arms were full, a coworker quietly leaving a note on my desk after a tough week, a neighbor bringing over a plate of warm cookies. None of these gestures solved anything monumental in my life, yet each one softened something in me. They reminded me that people can be unexpectedly kind, even when the world feels harsh or hurried. And the more I paid attention, the more I realized that generosity creates a ripple effect. When someone shows us unexpected kindness, something in us loosens. We feel more open, a little more willing to offer warmth to someone else. And I've seen this play out countless times, how a smile makes somebody's day just a bit easier, how patience invites patience, and how a simple act of thoughtfulness can travel further than we ever imagined. And how sharing a little bit of joy can lift someone up and confirm their faith in the goodness of humanity. Generosity doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it passes through the world quietly, hand to hand, heart to heart. But perhaps the most surprising part of generosity is the way it shapes the giver. Each time I choose generosity, a moment of patience when I feel impatient, an offer to help someone when I'm busy, a willingness to listen when I'm tired. I feel myself growing into the person I want to be. Generosity asks me to slow down, notice others more carefully, and see beyond the boundary of my own concerns. It helps me remember that everyone I meet carries invisible stories, invisible struggles, invisible hopes, and invisible baggage. And when I act with kindness, I feel like I'm acknowledging those hidden parts of others and honoring the hidden parts of myself. Over time, I've come to believe that generosity is less about what we give and more about the meaning behind it. Life becomes more bearable when we choose connection over isolation. And that small acts of generosity can help bring us together and reconfirm our faith in humanity. My name is James, and I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and subscribe. A thumbs up also goes a long way to help the channel. Take care, and see you in the next video. Peace.